Okay, so this is just a quick tutorial to help you with some parts of the Earthquake 2 lab. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to go to this Natural Hazards Arizona viewer. So if you click this link, you should end up with something that looks like this. You'll have to agree to the terms and conditions and then hit OK. And then basically it's just a map, and we're going to focus in Arizona. And up here at the top, you can look at a few of the different hazards that have been mapped. So for us, we're just going to focus on the active faults that are here, and we're going to look at some earthquake epicenters. So if you go through the questions, it tells you to activate things, turn them on and off. So if we click, then it'll show us some of the active faults and give us some age ranges. And of course, we can zoom in and zoom out on that information. And then in the next part, it's going to ask you about some epicenters. So you could turn these off so that it's a little cleaner. Go back to earthquakes, turn those on. And the size of the circle is an indication of the magnitude. But of course, if you click on it, a pop-up comes up and it gives you all the relevant information. So those are some questions in the labs too. So you have to click on the little dots and it'll give you some information there. If you're interested, of course, you can look at some other hazards, but for this week, we're just going to focus on those two. And so that's what the questions here all the way through question 9 are asking. And then what I'm going to have you do is pull up Google Earth. And so here are some files that'll open in Google Earth. So remember, when you click these, they'll download, and then you can open them in Google Earth. And that should look something like this here, where I've got two things checked. I've got the plate tectonic stuff, which is giving me a little legend here. So the colors are indicating the types, right? So we have convergent, divergent, transform, and some that are undefined. And then the dots here are all of the different earthquake locations, epicenters. And so when you move in and it asks you about some things, you can, of course, click on these. Sometimes they're a little picky, but if you get it right, you got to zoom in, and click on it. There it is. Oh, geez. So it'll come up. There it is. So it gives you the magnitude and then, of course, its location. So there's a couple magnitude questions. You'll want to just, hover over. It'll give you that. And then some general interpretations about depth. So the color here is depth. Unfortunately, in this image here, because I've shrunk it down so much, the two legends overlap. But color is an indicator. Let's see if I can pop this up here. There we go. So color is an indicator of depth. And so there's some questions about where deep earthquakes are and why they're at certain locations. So you will have to zoom around the world and kind of look for these different colors if you're looking for deeper earthquakes. And then you can answer some questions about the boundaries for those. Let's see if I can go back to my little size there. And then there's more. So you'll answer some questions about that as you move around and look at those different magnitudes and locations. Then there is a question that is asking you to evaluate a different scale, the Mercalli scale that we talked about before. And so if you click this link here, it'll give you a description of what the Mercalli scores are. Remember, those are Roman numerals from 1 to 12. And so you want to read these descriptions and match them up with the Mercalli scale. So is this a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, that kind of thing. So remember, you're using Roman numerals here, so that's what you want to put in for those answers. And let's see. Oh, there's more. There's a lot of stuff to do in this lab. So you're going to go to the Millennial Tower. This is just a link to a Wikipedia site that describes some issues San Francisco is having with a tower that was built. So it should link you to the information. If you read those couple paragraphs, you can pull that information out of that document and answer those few questions there. And that's the end of the first part of the lab, where you can just submit this and then check your answers, go back and repeat if you so choose, and correct your answers, and do that as many times as you want. For the second part of the lab, I'm going to have you go back to Google Earth, plot a couple locations, and then draw a line for me. So what we're doing here is one of the things that's interesting in San Francisco is the area where a lot of buildings are built today has been added land. So land that was created because it was so valuable. And of course, when we talk about that area, it is susceptible to earthquakes. And when we add material, it's not very stable land. It can potentially be, associated with some liquefaction. And so what I want you to do here is when people came over in the gold rush, they came in ships and they docked in the San Francisco area. A lot of those ships were left abandoned. And so what I want you to do is I want you to plot the locations of these ships here on Google Earth. And so it's not too complicated. What you can just do is highlight this, copy, and then paste it directly into the search bar in Google Earth. And then you can name it. You can name it the name of the ship, or you can just say boat 1, boat 2, boat 3, all the way down through. But then it'll give you an idea of where these wrecks were found. So I want you to discover that, and I will help you with one. So if you kind of look here, I'm going to do this first one. I'm just going to highlight it, and then I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come over to my Google Earth, and I'm just going to put it in here and hit paste and search. And it's going to take me to that location. And I'm going to let it do that. And here we are, San Francisco. Holy cow, here we are. And so what I want to do is add a place mark. So I'm going to do that. Now, sometimes this little pop-up window hides somewhere and I can't find it. It's behind like 6 windows. So if you click it and you don't see it, close some of your windows and then you'll be able to find it. But I'm going to just put boat 1 here. Boat, and then hit OK. And there it is there. And so what I want you to do is then plot those other locations on here. So that's one of the tasks for you to do here. And then the second is to determine why the boats are so inboard. Well, if we look at our lab here, we can see that this is the old coastline. So all this material has been added. And I want you to attempt to draw this old coastline on our Google Earth map here. And so when you look at this area that's the map, one of the things that's going to help you locate everything is this Market Street. See how it's on an angle here? Everything else is a nice grid city, almost north, south, east, west. But there's this Market Street that comes in on an angle. If you go to San Francisco in our Google Earth here, and I'm going to zoom in a little, see this angled street right here? That's Market Street right there. And so you can use that as a guide to draw the coastline, okay? And so Market's here. Where the bridge connects is right here. So that'll give you another point of reference. It doesn't have to be perfect. I want you to try and draw this coastline. So to do that, of course, all you're going to do is go up to our drawing tool. Where are we at there? Our measuring tool here. And I'm going to choose I'll choose a path because it's easier to do that way. And then I can come over here and, decide where I want to start and just click, 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 right? And draw my thing all the way until I get to where I want to be. And then I'm good with that. And then I can save that or take a picture of it at least. So the picture should contain a line that represents a coastline and all the locations of the boats. And finally, it asks you to locate the tower, that tower that you just kind of went through that was leaning in San Francisco. So you can just do a search for that name and then put a little place mark there. And so those are the things that I want you to include in your image. And so you'll have some boat locations, a line that draws the old coastline, and a location for the Millennium Tower. And then you can just grab a screenshot and send that in, and that'll be your second part of your lab. Holy crap, that took a long time. So sorry about that. All right, well, hopefully that's helpful. And if you need other help, reach out and I will help you with that.